It said it's streaming, Georgie.
Got it, I'm muted.
Can't hear you.
I'm gonna wait for a few seconds for people to get on and then we'll start. Hello, everyone. We'll start in about 2 to 3 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone. Thanks for everyone who's tuning in virtually from everyone's home. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's had a good day. And thank you for joining us today. Two things I just want to note for this week. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I just want to point that out. And congratulations to teachers. Everyone knows a teacher. Everyone has been impacted by a teacher, and just want to point that out. Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's also Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm sure we'll dive into that with in the schools as well, and just highlight that. And again, thank you to our distinguished teachers today. We have Mr. Dodson, Mrs. Claiborne, and Mrs. Chavis here joining us, and I'm really grateful to have them with us, joining us today. Thank you all for joining us, and Mom, you can go ahead and kick it off.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ladetra Robinson, and I'm running for state delegate to be here in the city of Hagerstown. And I'm so happy and honored to see the teachers here today when we wanted to talk about schools, education, and all that. A little bit about myself as a proud parent of 3 Washington County public school graduates, and I'm the founder of the Blossom School of Etiquette here in Hagerstown. I have nearly over 2 decades of experience working with children and young adults. I know the critical importance of access to a high quality education for child's health and future, and I also recognize the importance of supporting our teachers and our support staff at all levels, including the intervention specialists, the guidance counselors, the substitutes, bus drivers, teacher aides, paraprofessionals, the office staff, nurses, food service assistant, everyone who contributes to the daily operation of our school system. Furthermore, we must recognize the pandemic impact on our entire education system that was horrible for the past 2 years. Our students and educators and the school staff has endured a great deal during these last 2 years. And we must address that this with increased investment, resources, and support. Lastly, our public education system is built on the back of the teachers, staff professionals, and the school leaders that we know and we all had contact with in our lives with teachers. Teachers were very important to me as I grew up, coming from California, moving to DC, going into school in Baltimore for my grad school. Teachers was everything to me. They taught me so much, and I appreciate teachers. However, teachers and school professionals are being squeezed by under-resourced classrooms and a lack of support, which we don't need. We trust them with the education of our children, thus we must foster an environment that values, appreciates, and support them. So I'm very happy to have these teachers here with us today, and I hope we can have a good discussion this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we can open up to whoever wants to go first, and just a little bit about yourself and just what are you seeing on a day-to-day basis in the schools, and what some concerns or even good highlights that, hey, we should keep doing that, or things that, hey, we got to do something about that.
I'll start. So I'm Michaela Claiborne. I grew up in Hagerstown. I still live in Hagerstown. I graduated from North Hagerstown High, and then I went to Howard University for college. And then currently I teach in Montgomery County. So I feel like growing up in Washington County and just experiencing Washington County public schools has been like a stark difference from, where I went to college and then where I teach now. So I feel like currently the biggest thing is the pandemic is still affecting children for sure, just as much as it's affecting us adults. Their families are still going through things, and it's very apparent to see that day to day in my students' lives. I think attendance is a big issue. Just things that they're going through in their personal lives. Social media is a big thing. So I feel like it's a lot of moving parts with kids today, a lot of things that they're dealing with. And I think being a teacher has really opened my eyes to that. And I wish when I was younger, I had more teachers that looked like me or looked like my family, or just teachers from different backgrounds in general, to kind of be that method of support outside of my family life, or just another role model that can experience things that I've experienced, just to help me get through things personally.
I'll go. I am Bria Chavis. I am a middle school teacher currently teaching social studies. And prior to that, I used to teach high school and I taught social studies. I was in DC first, and then I came to Hagerstown. So my experience as an educator, number one, I absolutely love it. But COVID has definitely shined a light on all the issues that we've had up until this point. So I know that we all start with COVID as this indicator of all this stuff that has happened to these kids. But in reality, all of this stuff happened before COVID, but COVID just really brought it out. But one thing that we do see from COVID is that educational gap, that opportunity gap that our students are experiencing. Kids have been thrown in our classroom and there are no supports for educators, right? There's this, the higher ups, they'll come up with these great ideas without the input of the people that are on the front line each and every day working with the kids. And it's not realistic. Our kids are experiencing mental health issues, which comes in like trauma, all of that stuff goes in there. There are just learning gaps where kids were not in school, like they were virtual, but they never showed up. And so, all of the things that they learned in school build upon each other, and they missed a year and a half of stuff. So it's hard for them to catch up. And like I said, all these kids have been thrown in a classroom together, which I believe that kids should all be in a classroom together, but where are the additional support staffs? Why are we not investing in these additional support staffs to help teachers? Because I think about a classroom with EL students that are in special education, and then you have your students that are going to do well academically no matter what the situation is. You have all of them in a classroom together, and then you're expected to diversify education or the lesson. And that's a lot, especially for people that are new to education, right? So there's some, like, if you've been teaching for a little bit, you can kind of change some things around. But if you're new into education and you have all of these kids and then COVID happened, it's very difficult. I think that there's these unreal expectations that they're not willing to invest in to make them realistic expectations.
All right, I guess I'll piggyback off of everything that you two were just saying. So I'm a second year teacher. I teach at South Hagerstown High School. So for those of you that don't know, it's an opportunity school. And a lot of the same stuff that you guys are saying is the stuff that I see at my school. And I really agree with the fact that I think there are no new problems in the schools. I think COVID really amplified those problems that we've had before. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that it seems like the kids need revolves around mental health and social emotional help and things like that. And as a teacher, it can be really overwhelming because you kind of play that role as not only their educator, but you're also providing that emotional help that they need. And one thing I feel like is we need a lot more hands on deck, not just teachers, but, you know, social workers, guidance counselors, ESP. I mean, everybody that can be in the classroom to help. Like, we really need that. And like you said, Ms. Chavis, it's really hard when you have two students that this is their first month in America and they don't speak any English. And then you have two other kids who have IEPs and they need different lessons than other kids, or you need to modify your stuff for them, and all of that all at once, and then having no help on top of that can really be overwhelming. So, I mean, I would really agree that one of the main things we need now is just more support for the kids and for the staff that works at the schools.
I would say so. As a obviously, it's no how to put it. It's no big shocker that my mom is a Black woman and running in this seat, running for this race. And one of the things that we see in Washington County is diversifying the teacher force. Obviously, we want very qualified teachers, but still, like Ms. Chavis was saying, we want teachers who look like us, stuff like that. So, Mom, what are some things that you would how can we bring more diverse teachers to Washington County and attract them and recruit them?
Okay, yes, I do believe we need to diversify the schools. Like I said, when I came up, my school wasn't diverse at all. And as going through college and everything, it wasn't. And I think what we need to do is our recruitment for Washington County Public School is we got to go down and go to different colleges that where kids are learning to become teachers, and we got to go there to like a lot of the HBCU schools, and not just in Maryland or DC, but even go down to the South, where a lot of people would like to have would love to come to Hagerstown, you know, because what they're making down there probably not as much as here. So we have to encourage people, encourage the Washington County School Board to bring more diversify the schools here in Hagerstown by recruiting. And like George said, not just recruiting just to recruit, but recruit the people that are highly qualified. And I think it can be done. You know, we can have teachers going to different colleges recruiting, not just finding African Americans, but Hispanics, Oriental, Asian, everyone. And we need, because kids do need to see the difference diversifying could be, because children want to see people like them, you know. And when I notice sometime in schools that I have gone to speak in, kids gravitate to when they see people that are like them, because they see that, okay, I can be that. And it also encourages young people to go farther when they see people that are challenging them and expecting them to go further because they're helping them. And they'll look at that type of person to help them move forward. So yes, we definitely need to diversify, and we definitely need to recruit, and not just in Washington County, not just in Maryland, but everywhere where there's college students that want to be great teachers.
So one of the other things I hear all of you guys are talking about is the not just teachers but support staff, and talking about support staff, and that's like one of the main big things like currently right now where it's you guys like, hey, we need more support staff, we need more, not just more teachers but support staff to help foster an environment that makes the entire education system run. So Mom, could you talk about some things that how can we recruit, again, recruiting, bringing people, making sure that support staff, they get paid more, they're getting paid where they want to come, and not just teachers, but just the people who, everyone who makes a school system run every morning from 8 to 4, however long it goes. And once you answer that, and just what are some ideas that you guys, the rest of you guys on here, think could attract more support staff to come to our schools?
Firstly, I think they should feel welcomed. They should be well trained. I know, talking to these three, I know they probably say, okay, training, Ms. Ladetra, but I think we should do a lot of training. I think they should feel welcome coming in and feel valued. I think a lot of the support staff that I have talked to don't feel valued at times. I ran for Board of Education a couple of years ago, and when I sat and spoke to a lot of teachers and support staff, they felt that they weren't being valued, they weren't being supported against a lot of stuff that they were doing. So I think we have to work on helping support staff here in Washington County, that they're just, everybody in a whole is together to make our education system the best here in Hagerstown. So we have to come together, helping everyone, down to the bus drivers. I'm sorry, down to everyone that's with Washington County. So I think it's a lot of having them feel valued, having them feel welcome to stay. I've known teachers that have came to Hagerstown and they left because they didn't feel welcome. The training, they weren't getting a lot of training. I'm not sure how much training you guys are getting now, but I used to hear that all the time, the training, and being welcomed is really one of the main ones, and being valued. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say, you ladies and gentlemen.
So one thing I would definitely think is, I definitely agree with everything you just said. They want to feel welcome and they want the proper training, but I feel like one thing that's also very important is fair compensation for the work that you're doing. And sometimes I've heard direct support staff complain that, they have 4, 5, sometimes 6, 7 kids that they all have to support by themselves. And, when you have 6, 7 kids, that's 6, 7 kids in 6, 7 different classrooms all at one time, that they're all, kind of stretched thin. And again, there are kids in schools that don't have support that need it. So even the kids that do have that support aren't getting enough of it from enough people. And it's just because we don't have enough direct support staff. And I think there needs to be more incentivization to pay them more, so more people want to work that job. So then that way we have the proper amount of staff that we need to support those kids. Because I mean, I don't know about you two, but I can definitely see at my school that there are kids that should qualify for that kind of support and don't get it. And then again, some of the kids that do qualify for it don't have somebody with them all the time, when they definitely would need somebody either with them all the time or at least a couple minutes at the beginning and end of class.
I agree. When I first started working in education, I started in special education as a paraeducator. So I definitely agree with everything that you guys said. I think training is a really big thing. Because me, especially even working in Montgomery County, I feel like I was just kind of thrown in there. And I was a one-on-one para. So the student I had, he had a lot of behavioral issues as well as learning disabilities. So he was kind of just left alone. Like teachers would rather just hand him off to whoever his para was that year or whatever. So I feel like from each angle, from teachers and support staff, paraeducators, things like that, I think more training needs to be given just so that we know how to handle situations, and so that students don't feel alone, that they feel like they have the right support coming to them.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. When I think about paraprofessionals and all other support staff, I think about how, like what was said, they're not paid a wage in which they can, a livable wage in which they can live in the state of Maryland. There's no reason why you should be working a full-time job and not being paid a livable wage. I think training is important, but who is doing the training? I don't know about y'all, but I am that teacher that gets very irritated when there are people that are doing training that are not qualified to do training, right? Like, I feel like because they work in central office, and I'm not saying specifically here because I've worked in 2 different places, but people that work in central office are doing trainings and you haven't been in the school for several years. So things have changed greatly. So I'm all for doing, like I host trainings a lot of times, but I want it from people that understand what's going on in that moment, not things that happened 10 years ago, because those kids are nothing like they were 10 years ago. So I think that's super important. And then also going back to that diversity piece, I think about this all the time. If I did not teach in Washington, D.C. first, I would have left Hagerstown and I would have went back. I would have went somewhere else, right? I'm thankful for my teaching in DC because it kind of roughed me up a little bit to be able to handle anything. And then coming here, being the only Black woman in the entire school building, the only Black teacher in the entire school building, is hard. And you have all of these kids with these different needs. I can't be there for everybody. It's just realistically, it's not, it just can't, it doesn't work that way. So like, if we're trying to get diversity in our schools, the people that are leading the schools need to be diverse as well. And what are they doing to recruit these diverse leaders so that teachers and paras and everybody actually wants to come to these schools?
Thank you for that. So I want to pivot to mental health. Very broad. What are you guys seeing in the schools in terms of mental health? Are there enough mental health specialists in schools? And Mom, what do you want to do in regards to mental health in our schools? And then you guys, obviously, we would love to hear what you guys got to say in regards to mental health from schools. And I would just say a tidbit, when I was in high school, if there were mental health specialists, I didn't know about them. And I would just love to know currently how's that realm right now with mental health?
Okay, I think we should invest in increasing the numbers for mental health. The people that's working with mental health for the students. I think we should increase psychologists, counselors, nurse, social workers, and other health professionals in our schools so that the students and teachers and the staff get the necessary mental health support they need. I don't think it's just the students, but I also believe the staff as well should be able to have someone there for them, because a lot is going on in the school system. I know each year, like 1 in every 6 kids in the United States, age 6 to 17, suffers from mental health issues. And I would work to expand the access to mental health because it's very important. Because like my son said, you know, a lot of times kids didn't know where to go, and they would, you know, and a lot of times that would be the issue of children having problems in the school. And when they stopped having that, we started seeing a lot happening to the children, because I remember before they had a lot of these in the school and now they don't. And I think it's what South High and another school has something, you know, for health, and the rest of the schools doesn't. I'm not sure, Georgia, you can say about that, but I know we do definitely need, especially since the pandemic and everything that's been going on, children shouldn't be going through this, and neither should the teachers. And like Bria said, you know, it's a lot that and all of you said that there's a lot that teachers are going through, and the paraprofessionals and all the staff. And so I think mental health should definitely be in the school, and we should definitely invest in that.
Um, one thing that I definitely see at my school is there is just a big need for more mental health support, whether it be with guidance counselors, whether it be with psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever the staff is, we need it. And I mean, the the pandemic has really brought to light how important having that staff at schools is. I mean, it's I would say almost on a weekly basis, we have kids in crisis that need some sort of help in school. And at the end of the day, if they don't get that help, that's just taking away more from their education. They're just going to fall further and further behind. And I'm a big believer in, you know, strong communities, and that's what is going to solve that problem if we build a community, you know, around our schools and have strong communities and strong relationships with parents. There's such a stigma around mental health and getting help for mental health that kids have never even experienced what it's like to get help for that, because it's just so much stigma around it. Their parents have issues, they need mental health help as well, and they don't know how to find it. And I don't really know the answer to that, but it needs to be some sort of community based solution to that problem, because it's not just the children at our schools. Like you said, it's everybody. Teachers need more mental health support. The kids need it. Their families need it. You can really see how it's been affecting the kids and how they develop and how they've been learning. You know, I have some freshmen that, you know, this is their first time, their first full school year back at school in 2 years, and you can definitely tell that the social skills are just somewhat lacking, and it's that needs to be addressed as well, in my opinion. That we're just that 2 year pandemic has really, I feel like, negatively affect kids, and not just their education but their mental health. And you know, we need to do something to kind of bounce them back or help.
Yeah, to all of that. Yes, to every single thing that you said. I would also say that just talking to people just in different schools, whether it's in Washington County or even outside of Washington County, you don't have enough of these people in the school. So you don't have enough counselors, you don't have enough social workers, you don't have even enough nurses. There are some places where the principals are operating as the nurse. That's illegal. That's like, unless you have a nursing degree, that's illegal. You can't do that. So you don't have enough of these people to help these kids. And then on top of that, teachers have not been, and I went to college, I graduated from college, undergrad in 2017, and then grad school from 2018. So I did not graduate that long ago, but I don't remember ever learning in school how to handle working with kids with mental health issues at all, right? And so I can only imagine how those teachers feel who have been teaching longer than that, right? Like they're like, I don't know what's going on. And they feel, this is what I hear all the time, they feel like it's just, oh my goodness, the school system is trying to make us do something else and try to make us do something else. But it's because the training that we're getting about how to handle these situations is not good training, right? We all need to have an understanding that in education, you have to be teaching and operating through a trauma-informed lens. You don't know what any of these kids are going through, so you have to just be aware. And it's not fair for educate or teachers to say, well, I didn't know that this kid lost their home last night. There's some things that they can't tell us as educators because there's like, all of that stuff that's in between. I'm not in that space, so I don't really know what the rules are, but I understand that there's certain things that they can't tell us. But so what type of training are we getting beyond college? Because college definitely didn't do it, right? What are we getting beyond college that is teaching us how to work with these kids through a trauma-informed lens, because we don't know what they're going through? And then, of course, like I said before, we need to have more support staff, because the kids, I don't know about y'all, and I'm sure it's the same because it's been across the entire nation, but like the behaviors have been crazy, right? And if you're a new teacher and you're coming into this, you are probably like, I'm out because this has been the craziest thing. But there's no support for these behavioral issues, right? These kids are not acting out because they want to. It's all of these other things that are going on, and they haven't had those social skills, right? Some of these kids, I think about like my 8th graders, they haven't had a normal school year since what, is it 6th grade or maybe 5th? I don't know, 6th grade, right? So that was at the very beginning of their career. So we need realistic plans about behavior, right? And I know that a lot of people talk about like restorative, like we need to restore these kids. I 100% believe in restorative practice and restorative circles. But the problem is the school year started off really rocky for all schools, I'm pretty sure. And people are trying to restore issues that can't be restored, because restore means to go back to something that was good. But if your classroom started off rocky or the school started off rocky, then how can you restore something that was bad from the beginning? So they're not putting in practices that are realistic for what we're going through. Everybody's just trying to throw these titles on it, but it's clearly not working, right? Like, so yes.
Thank you guys for that. That was great. Next, I want to pivot to career preparedness. Getting students ready for whether it's college or not. How do we get students to at least have a wherewithal of what they want to do next? I know myself, I went to college. I found my passion in college, and I did internships, stuff like that. But from high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I found that out in college. How can we kind of close that buffer in high school to at least get just maybe know what you want to do, or at least if it's not college, trades, or there's a lot of money that can be made in trades and all that stuff. So Mom, what do you want to do in regards to career preparedness, stuff like that? And then obviously you guys, what do you guys see can happen in schools where just preparing our students for a career after high school?
Thank you, Georgie. I think we should improve the access to careers and college preparedness. Some people are ready for college, some people aren't. But I think when they leave, when they're in 11th grade, they should kind of know what they want to do. The teachers, counselors should be preparing our youth to what they want to do and what they want to be. So I think we should have prepared. I think we should have more technical schools, because we have a lot of warehouses here in Hagerstown. And a lot of kids I notice aren't going to the warehouses because they say they work them too hard and they're not getting as paid as much as they would like to, and they're getting worked very hard. And I think that we should prepare the kids that when they're taking classes, it doesn't have to be the little minute career in a warehouse or in a job. They should be able to go in and be able to move up. I know when I was coming up, they used to always, this is telling my age, but when I was coming up, they always told girls to learn skills like typing and all that stuff. But then Back then I was like, well, why do I have to do that? I want to work at McDonald's or something. But what I found out is when I graduated from high school, I could get any office job because I knew all type of office work. So I think that we need to prepare our kids that even if it's college, if not college, if it's a technical career, even if they want to go in the military, I think we should prepare them for what they would like to do. I had one of my students in my etiquette school. She was really good in school, went to Barbara Ingram. But one day she called me and said when she was in the 12th grade, this is not what I want to do. And I asked her, what does she want to do? She said, I want to join the military. And at first the school was shocked because they was like, okay, she was a ballerina and now she wants to go into the military. But she was prepared for the military. I've come to find out her parents were both military people. She grew up all over the world and that's what she wanted to do. And that's what we need to do with our students. We don't need to have them come out of school and they don't know what they're going to do. I see it all the time. Kids are graduating in the 12th grade and I ask them, what are they going to do next? And they have no clue. And that shouldn't happen. We should be able to have them prepared for whatever they want to do, or at least kind of know what they're going to do through technical schools, through college preparedness, counselors, just working with the kids. And like I said earlier, I do work with a lot of kids and I still do. And when I hear they're getting ready to hit the 11th grade, I like to call them and sit down and say, what do you want to do? And then if they're not getting any support from anyone, we sit down and talk about the different avenues they can take and not leaving them behind, because there's a lot of kids that are getting left behind as far as what they want to do when they get out of school because nobody's supporting them. So we have to have some sort of initiative that we can invest in our school resources to keep kids developing physically and emotionally and able to figure out what they want to do, because they're our future. Like I always keep using George as an example. George was a football player. And then when he sat there and went to Frostburg, Travis, I don't know what happened, but he decided that he wasn't doing football anymore and lost all this weight and said he loved political science. And we were shocked because we thought of him as a football player. But I was so proud of him because he knew he didn't want to do that, but he already knew what else he was going to do. And that's what I think our children, we have to support them so they'll know if it's technical, if it's college, if it's even just working, cosmetology or anything, being the best that you can be at anything you do. We don't down them if they don't go to college. We don't down them if they want to go into the military, just to support the kids that they be the best, whatever they decide to do. So I definitely think we should invest in more technical classes, more support to let children know by the time they hit in the 11th grade, they kind of know what their direction is.
It's kind of funny. Me and George, when we were at Frostburg, we both kind of made that same decision right around the same time. He stopped playing football and I stopped playing football too. And I can remember at that point in time, I was majoring in art and I was taking some more advanced art classes there. And I was like, I really like this and I'm spending all this time somewhere else. And, I like this a lot too, but I know this isn't going to last forever. I really think I need to branch out and go over here and start, committing myself to this. And that decision right there ultimately ended up in me becoming a teacher. And I absolutely love this job, even though there's, things that come with it. I absolutely love being a teacher. And I'm really, really grateful I made that decision in college. Because now I have, to me, I always say it's my dream career. I'm working my dream job because, not a lot of jobs you get to wake up every day and you get to go you get to change people's lives and be part of their lives and be a positive influence. And that's really important to me. And I feel like a lot of people that become teachers, it's because they had that in their life when they were young people too. Because I can remember being in high school, being young and looking up to my mentors, my football coaches, my teachers. So to kind of be that is very fulfilling to me. But I kind of lost my train of thought there. When it comes to students getting on that track, you know, to whether it be trade school or college or whatever, I think a lot of that all goes back to the mental health. Or do they have the confidence to say, I want to do this, or I can do this? And I feel like a lot of the time it's an unfortunate reality of the schools is you have those kids that don't care. You know, you get them as freshmen, they don't care. And then they don't have those teachers that, because they require that extra effort, and it's not easy. It's a lot of effort. You know, it's a lot of getting turned down, and you got to just keep on nudging and nudging and nudging at them. You know, like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And I feel like a lot of those kids end up getting left behind, not their freshman year, but we're talking 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. And by the time they get to high school, that's 3 years of people, well, they don't care anyway, so why am I going to sit here and waste my time with them? And it's unfortunate, but that happens to a lot of kids. So then when they get to high school and it's time to start making those choices, like, what do you want to do with your life? I feel like part of them is really overwhelmed by that. And another part of them doesn't have that self-confidence inside of them to say, well, hey, I want to do this, or I think I can do this. Like, some of these kids don't think they can do anything, or some of them don't think they have to do anything. They don't think graduating high school and getting the diploma matters. And we have to kind of change that culture, or change that kind of mentality with them, and kind of foster that love for education. That's one thing I always, you know, tell my kids is, you know, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to get a 4-year degree. That's not the one-way ticket to success, you know, but educating yourself is necessary, whether that be going to college, whether that be going to HCC, whether that be learning a trade, learning how to weld, learning how to be an electrician, you know. And one thing I do think Washington County is doing well is they're expanding the CTE department, and they're trying to target kids at a younger age and get them on that path to some sort of career technology education, some sort of job field that they can kind of get in. And they're always posting about apprenticeships and trying to get kids into apprenticeships. So that's one thing I do think that the county that we work in is doing really well. And I really hope and anticipate that they continue to work on that and expand it with these younger kids.
I completely agree with Travis. Like, in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I liked art, but it would always be in the back of my mind, like, how am I going to survive off of that? But I went on to study art in college, and then people would always say the same thing, like, how are you going to make money being an artist? And I think that was very discouraging. So I think that's important, to encourage kids to do whatever they want to do if they're passionate about it, and not be discouraging. But after college, even then, I was still unsure of myself. Like, I worked in retail for 2 years, and then here I am now. And I literally never imagined myself being a teacher, but now that I am, like Travis was saying, I'm so passionate about it. Like, I've never had another job where I can wake up and be excited to go to work, be excited to talk to my kids. So I feel like just being encouraging is a major thing that teachers and support staff, whoever, because it's very easy to be discouraging, because you think in your mind, like, I'm just trying to be realistic, but like, it's so discouraging to hear somebody like down talk your passion. So yeah, I'm an art teacher, so I'm always like, arts electives, woo, like, come on. But I think it's important to keep that in the schools. And my school now, one thing that I really like that they do every Wednesday, they take the last 30 minutes of the school day, and the kids can choose a club to go to. So they have random things like robotics club, video games, things like that, all different types of things. So I think that's important to keep in the school, and encourage kids to kind of follow their passion and do what they really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. first of all, education is an amazing profession. Like y'all said, I love it. I wake up every day. Like, I have not woke up a day where I'm like, ugh, I do not want to go to work. I really do enjoy going to work. Kids are wild, absolutely. But like, I love them, and it has been a fun year, despite all of the things that come with any career, right? But I definitely think, I think about this all the time, and I have this conversation with like my parents all the time about, my parents talked to me about what I wanted to do when I got older. There was always this continuous dialogue about, even when I was in kindergarten, these are different careers you can be. So, I went from wanting to be a vet to a neurosurgeon to a doctor to, to all of these different things. But I always had in my mind that there was something beyond high school. And, dynamics of families are different. And we cannot expect that every family had to have these conversations with their kids, right? Because if your parents are working until 3:00 in the morning, right? Or you don't see your parents because, they go to work before you get home from school, or whatever the situation may be, they're not having those conversations with you. And so the school system cannot just expect parents to have those conversations. As much that parents want teachers to kind of take a step back, education has to take a step forward, right? Because kids are not prepared for after high school. And whatever you want to do, I think the biggest thing is, number one, for them to figure out what they don't want to do, right? What don't you want to do? What is something that does not work for you? And then you can kind of figure out the track, right? So like, when I went to college, I had the idea that I wanted to be a teacher, but I wasn't 100% sure. But because I had those dialogues with my parents, not the school, because the school did nothing for me, right? Because I had those dialogues with my parents, I knew that college was somewhere I had to go. And I knew that I needed to go to a college that allowed me to have that time to be undecided, and I wasn't just wasting money, right? I should have went to a community college and saved way more money, but that's besides the point. But there needs to be this beginning stage. So when kids are in elementary school, having those career days, all of those different things, I don't know if they still do that. But I know like at the middle school, we haven't done it, but granted, it's been COVID and all of that stuff. But like, we're not having those people come in and have those conversations with these kids. So they don't understand that life goes on beyond high school. And, kids have that tunnel vision, right? Like, they only see what's right in front of them. And so they don't understand that you have to know what you want to do, or at least know what you absolutely don't want to do and you can't do. So yeah, I wish we would have more programs that are in the schools, and it's not once a year. Like, it needs to be something continuous so that the kids are constantly thinking about it. So yeah.
That was great. Thank you all for those that speeches after all that. So we're coming up on an hour. So one thing I just want to ask is about life skills. So we're talking about career preparedness and what you want to do, but what about just like the tangible things, like opening up a bank account, knowing how to should I sign up for this loan to go to college, stuff like that. Just the skills that just to be a functioning human in society. So Mom, can you talk about a little bit about that? And then the rest of you guys just talk about just life skills in general, not about just what you want to do going in the future, but just life skills to just be a functioning adult.
Okay, well, right now I'm the financial literacy person for Washington County. So I go everywhere and teach financial literacy at the jails, at recovery houses, at the library, and I also do it online. And you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to write a check, how many people don't know how to write cursive. I was talking about money orders. A girl came up to me and said, "What is a money order? What is it? What does it look like? How to do a tire, how to even dress for a job, how to do a resume." It's a lot of life skills things that is lacking in our younger people because it's not being taught anymore. when I started my etiquette school, this is one of the things that was very important was the life skills, because besides the education, you have to know just regular life skills. And when I noticed that a young lady is going off to college, and when I talk to them, their parents come back and say thank you because they wouldn't have survived. I know my daughter, she knew nothing about subways. She knew nothing about saving money, going to open up an account. She didn't know any of that stuff. And I had to teach her, how to open up a bank account, because they're not being taught that anymore. They're not taught about credit. They're not talking about bad credit anymore. They're not talking about looking at your credit score. It's the little things that we think that, oh, they'll find out, they'll know, but they don't know. So I think life skills should be a class. It should be in middle school and it should be in high school, because we have some people coming out of school that don't know any of that stuff, that sometimes I'd be in awe, especially when I'm talking to the 30-year-olds that have no clue about getting a credit card, no clue about writing a check. I mean, I was working at the Hilton for a while, and when the Coca-Cola person came in and they gave it to one of the girls to write the check, she looked at me and said, Ladetra, I've never wrote a check in my life. And this girl was about 35 years old, and she did not know how to write a check. And I had to write it, and I was like, wow. But this is the life skills. And I think that's very, very important that we teach it in the school, so when the children do get out, they're prepared for just life. They're prepared for just being out there. And a lot of kids aren't. So we definitely got to bring life skills back into schools, in middle school and in high school.
I completely agree. I teach middle school, and like my 7th and 8th graders are already like, Miss Claiborne, I want to work. Like, I want to get a job. So I feel like it's definitely so important to start that in middle school. There's nothing like that. There's no life skills type of class taught at my school. So I think that that's definitely important to start early in middle school, because I feel like kids now, they're dealing with things that are so advanced for their age, just with society, how the world is so divided, their access to social media and everything. So I feel like the earlier, the better at this point to start with life skills, because a lot of them already know what they want to do in life, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I think that goes the same with what we were talking about before, like introducing this to the kids at a young age and like doing it consistently. I think a life skills class would be great. Like I remember taking home ec, and when I finally learned that they got rid of home ec, I said, what are we doing? Right. But that didn't teach us finances or anything, but that taught us how to sew. Right. And like, if I get a hole in anything, I know that I can sew it. And there's, I have no issue. But it needs to be like an elective class, right? And it's just, you take it and everybody's kind of like required to take it, something. And I think this kind of goes along too with what I was saying before, because these things are not being taught at home, because parents don't even know it. Like you were saying, Ladetra, like if you're 35 years old, you can have, you're old enough to have several kids by that age, right? So like, if you don't know how to write a check, what makes you think that your child would know how to do it? So yeah, I definitely agree with that. We just need to make sure that there's enough funding to do it. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything, everybody's been saying. One thing I feel like should be a mandatory class to graduate is financial literacy for high schoolers. You have the option to take it, but not a lot of kids do end up taking it. And I got a couple sophomores that just hit the age where they can get a job. So like a couple of them just got their first job. And of course, the first thing they want to do is just spend all their money. Like they just got their check, they got their little card. And when you used to work fast food, they had a little prepaid card that they loaded, they sent your checks right on. So he's like spending all his money off of his card. But I think it kind of points to a little bit of a larger issue, is a lot of these kids, their parents don't live, they live paycheck to paycheck basically, and they don't have anybody who's ever at home, been able to teach them how to do those certain things like save money or write checks and things like that, because that's not a reality in their world. Their world is living that paycheck to paycheck. So I feel like with these younger kids, this is the first generation sometimes in a family that has the opportunity to break that and be able to start building wealth and having a savings and having a retirement and things like that, because a lot of their families don't have retirements. They're going to work their whole life and not have a retirement at the end of it. So especially in these communities where a lot of these kids that are going to the schools live below the poverty line and have those kind of issues, we definitely need to make a push to teach them how to finance and things like that. Yeah, just because, like I said, it's just we're the only people that have that opportunity to teach them about it, or else they're not going to learn it anywhere. And the honest truth is, not every single kid that walks through those doors is going to go to college or even learn a trade after it. They're going to find the highest paying job they can find right outside of high school and work that for however long they can. So we need to be able to teach them how to manage that money with whatever they're making.
Great. So almost finished. So last thing I just want to ask each one of you, and then Mom, you can just end it off. When you guys are, because you guys are teachers, but you guys are voters as well. So when you guys are doing your research on candidates and stuff like that who support you, especially you guys are teachers, what are you guys looking characteristic wise in a person who's looking to represent you and represent interests of teachers and everybody? What are some characteristics that you would love to see in someone who is seeking to represent everyone, but also be an ally to teachers?
For me, I absolutely like candidates that have education as their center for whatever they do. And that's because I know that education is the foundation to everything. And if we can get education under control and all those resources in education fixed, then that will change society immensely. But also a candidate that does the groundwork, that gets out there and does it. And not only when it's for political gain, right? Like somebody that is out there and actively working and actively in the community, and people that are going to all these different communities, because that's ultimately who we serve when it comes to education. So education centered and somebody that's really doing groundwork for sure.
I completely agree with that. I think I would look for someone who you see their face and not just hear their voice, if that makes sense. So someone does the groundwork and gets their hands dirty a little bit. And like George was saying, just someone that's an ally for both teachers and students in the community. I think that's really important.
I don't think I could say it any better than you two. I totally agree with all that. And you can definitely tell a difference between somebody who truly, cares about their community and somebody who's just doing something for a photo op. So I like having somebody who's been in the community, knows the community, and is working to solve those issues in the community. And I couldn't agree more. Having education as the foundation is the best way to solve all that, because from that, all the other issues kind of fall in line with it.
Well, education is one of my top feelings, is one of the top things that I'm working towards, because education is everything. Every time I talk for any places I go, I always bring it back to education, because we have to have the education to do anything. And when I go and knock on doors, that's one of the main things that families come outside and talk to me is about what's going to happen with the education. Education is my top priority. And for me to be a delegate, I know that we have to be out there for the education. And I'm the type of person that I keep doing the groundwork. You know, when I started Blossom, I just started Blossom about teaching girls how to be ladies, you know, but at the same time being assertive and going as far as you can, being the best you can be. And every single job that I've had is about educating the people, educating the youth, educating families, and educating men and women. So I'm like, I mean, my passion is education. It always has been. And I want Washington County, Hagerstown, that we do the best that we can to make this like one of the best public school systems that there is. So I thank all three of you, Bria, Michaela, and Travis. I thank you because trust me, I'm listening to everything you all three have said because that's what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm listening to everybody, you know, because I want to hear what, not just what I think, it's what everybody else think, because being a delegate is not just me, it's for the whole community. And that's why I want to hear what other people have to say. So I thank all three of you guys to come, you know, on an evening when you're probably ready to do whatever you want after being with your students. And I did at one point wanted to be a teacher, but like I said, I came from Los Angeles. I did one time go and be, was about to be a teacher in New Jersey. First day I walked in, I got scared and I left. And sometimes I laugh at myself because I said I should have stayed and kept going like I hear you guys say, but I guess that wasn't really my passion as far as being a teacher. But after that, that's all I do now. My kids can tell you, all I do is teach. Any job that I have right now is teaching people. So I thank you guys very much for coming today and doing this with me and George. So thank you.
Thank you all, and you have all have a great evening.
Thank you all.